Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy Boulanger, and up next, the Monday after. Do me a quick favor as we get started. Hit like. If it is your first time checking out the GM, hit subscribe. Also, hit the notification bell so that you get updates when we upload new content. Let's talk about it. So, the Monday after this week is going to be different than any that we've had. In fact, the content for this week may be different than we've had. I have not been this frustrated with the Baltimore Ravens organization as a whole since the offseason debacle with the Lamar Jackson contract. So let's get started. First and foremost, let me give a shout out to the Miami Dolphins, who have put the entire league on notice that we're here, we're about that, and y'all gonna have to come see about us. That's what the Miami Dolphins said when they put up 70 points on the Denver Broncos on yesterday. It was so crazy because they was at 35 points by halftime, and they put up another 35 points in the second half. I appreciate that. I don't care about the context of running up the score. I don't care that that may have been uh, Bush League, according to some people. I don't care. Because if you don't want to get 70 points scored on you, then stop them. So shout out to the Miami Dolphins for putting that work in yesterday on the Denver Broncos. All right. Shout out to the Houston Texans for pulling what some would call an upset win. They smashed up the Jacksonville Jaguars on yesterday, 37-17, something like that. Another big time performance by CJ Stroud, who's looking like the real deal. Um, there are some teams around the league who missed it. There are some teams around the league who missed out on CJ Stroud. And you're going to be struggling for a quarterback for a long time. So shout out to CJ Stroud, man, for handling his business in a big time win yesterday against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Um, as I look around the league in my mind, I'm trying to think of any other games that I thought kind of stood out to me. Shout out to the Arizona Cardinals who smashed up the Dallas Cowboys on yesterday. Dallas Cowboys fans can kind of get out of hand a little bit when they start winning. And Arizona, banged them up yesterday and closed all the mouths yesterday. Now let me turn my fire way up for the Baltimore Ravens. Listen, if you are a Baltimore Ravens fan this morning and you guys check out the GM, I'm going to warn you that most of what I say this week, starting now, ain't going to be good. And everybody's going to get some. Let me start with yesterday's game. Yesterday's game was a total debacle. There was some good things in that game, but all the things that we did bad, mask, hides, and dims, anything positive that we could take from that game yesterday. Every aspect of that game, you could see the flaws very vividly. First and foremost, the game plan. Either it was scrapped early in the game or it was heavily flawed going into the game. I'm not sure which way it was, but the offensive play calling, let me start there. The offensive play calling was horrible. When Lamar Jackson has to run the ball 14 times, yeah, he eclipsed 100 yards, but that doesn't matter to me. It wasn't 14 run plays where Lamar Jackson was getting out of bounds. It was 14 run plays, whether it was scramble or not. There was a lot of called runs. I don't remember how many, but where he was taking contact. He will not last. Listen to me clearly, Baltimore Ravens. He will not last if he takes that kind of contact week in and week out. See, I want to talk about the offense. I may even do different segments this week and just smash up the offense, the defense, and then players. I don't know which way I'm going to do it because I'm still just as frustrated as I was yesterday thinking about it. See, I remember the announcers from the game talking about how the Baltimore Ravens had ran two quarterback draws right up the middle, consecutive plays to no effect. Now, either Todd Monken is not the guy he was promoted to be, or this offense is more limited than we thought it to be. Or let me clear that up. I thought it to be. I said from the beginning, it's going to take the first 4 weeks to find out what this Baltimore Ravens offense will be. But from week one, I said that the play calling was inconsistent. It was not good play calling. In week two, it looked to be a little better. The decision making looked to be a little better, but we still were not as fluent and we didn't have really a consistent flow, but it was a great team win. I thought Lamar Jackson had played his best game holistically when it came down to decision makers and things of that nature. But then we step into a week three. This thing should be getting better. The ride should be getting smoother, not rougher. We step into a week three and we have to run our quarterback 14 times. There is no other play in the playbook. And I get it. I know the offensive line was horrible. We knew that coming out of week one when there was a lot of injuries. But that's the point when I'm talking about coaching. We know the offense is playing with replacement parts along that offensive line. So we don't have a better scheme. I know that Lamar Jackson completed like 72, 73 percent passing yesterday and has done that pretty much every week. But when you complete 22 of 31 passes, but you ain't got but 202 yards, that means that your passes, with the exception of a few, are going less than 10 yards. That's what that means. You see, after 3 games, we have just over 600 yards passing. Not bad, but not great. You see, this offense looks oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say to this morning. This offense looks very, 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 very similar to what Greg Roman produced. This is supposed to be a revamped offense. It looks very similar. No, I don't want to hear any excuses this morning. Listen, if you're going to make excuses for this team right now, I don't want to hear them. I said from the beginning it's going to take 4 weeks, but this thing should be getting better. I get Sam Mustipher is a fill-in. Patrick McCarry is a fill-in, but we played with fill-ins last week against a really nice defensive front and looked better than this. And we didn't have to run Lamar as much. He ran the ball 14 times and was sacked 4 times. That's 18 hits at minimum. And then we know that he took other hits as he was passing the ball. Todd Monken, you can't produce a scheme where the ball gets out quicker, but it doesn't have to be 2 and 3 and 4 or 5 yard passes. We can't block up enough to throw the ball downfield. You guys go back and look at some highlights, and if you got the game recorded or whatever, and you can rewatch it, go back and look at how many plays were downfield yesterday. You're telling me that Rashad Bateman, a guy with really nice speed, really good hands, you can't find a way to get him the ball more than twice if he caught 2 balls? You can't figure out how to get anybody else open besides Zay Flowers? Unless that's Lamar Jackson hyper focused on Zay Flowers. I'll deal with Lamar in another video. You can't seem to make the necessary in-game adjustments to get into the 4th quarter and be able to put the game away. You take a Devin Duvernay 32-yard return and turn it into nothing? He basically puts you at midfield. You were at the 46-yard line. You telling me with supposed the revamped offense, Lamar Jackson at the quarterback position, you can't get 15 yards to get into Justin Tucker's field goal range? You can't produce 15 yards? Against the same defense that CJ Stroud, a rookie, hit up for 384 last week, you can't figure out how to scheme up a play? This is why I'm talking about coaching. John Harbaugh, coaching still. You can't figure out how to manage the clock better when when you had the ball with just 2 minutes and you give the ball back to the Indianapolis Colts with a minute and 45 plus seconds on the clock. You can't figure out how to get 30, 45 a minute off the clock to give them minimum time. M- it's frustrating. And then every single week, because we can't do what's necessary every single week. We can't put the game away. We leave starters on the field to get hurt. Geno Stone should not be hurt right now. Geno Stone would not have been hurt if the Baltimore Ravens had to close the game out like they should have when they were up 19-16. Geno hurt was after that whole foolish scenario. This is the kind of stuff that happens. This is the kind of stuff that happens when the Ravens can't close a game out and you leave players on the field for play after play after play that's unnecessary. None of this may be making sense, but this is my rant this morning, and there will be more this week. I am sick of seeing this same repetitive, not being able to be consistent, not being able to hold on to momentum, not being able to get the ball down the field and make the necessary plays when plays are to be made. This new coach, this new receiving squad, this new passing game, this new whatever it was supposed to be looks very similar to the Greg Roman scheme. Belanger, you said 4 weeks. I know. But week 1 was what it was. Week 2 was better than week 1, but week 3 was a step back. We should not be stepping back. We should not be. We should not have to run Lamar Jackson 14 times, whether it's called play or not. Called run or not is what I mean. We should not have to run him 14 times in game 3 to even get close to a win. To score 19 points, we had to run him 14 times? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's insane. This is insane. We can't scheme up how to get Mark Andrews open. A top 2, 3 tight end in the league. We can't scheme up how to get him open. We can't scheme up how to get, I've mentioned him before, we can't scheme up how to get Bateman open. Nelson Aguilar stepped up in a big way last week. We can't figure out how to get him the ball more than twice. It's insane. And here's when you know the wheels were falling off this offense on yesterday. In the first half, there were 4, let me count them, 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 4 consecutive drives that ended with a fumble. Are you kidding me? Well, Belanger, the weather, it was raining. Yeah, and the Indianapolis Colts also played in that same rain. They didn't turn the ball over once. I don't even know if they had a fumble. 4 consecutive drives? 4? You see, that's why I say it's a coaching. It's a coaching issue. You see, coaches should have came, pulled all the players. Look, fellas, it's very wet out here. 2 hands on the ball. When you're in traffic, 2 hands on the ball. When players are around the quarterback, 2 hands on the ball. Protect the ball at all costs. That should have been talked about and re-emphasized. But we go 4 consecutive drives that end in fumbles. Are you kidding me? Kenyon Drake turns the ball over after a 20-yard catch and run. takes 3 points off the board. If we capitalize on those 3 points, there's no overtime. Lamar Jackson turns the ball over inside of the Baltimore Ravens 20 or 25-yard line. That's an immediate 3 points for the other team. We don't give that up. If we don't give that up, there's no overtime. See, it's one thing not to get the 3 points on the Kenyon Drake fumble, but it's another thing that the Baltimore Ravens offense gives away points by turning the ball over inside of the 20 or 25-yard line. This whole thing, this whole first video was on coaching. But it's more to come. It's more to come. It's this whole thing. This whole thing is horrible. And I know it's just week 3. And I know we're 2-1. But there was a blueprint from the week before that this secondary isn't that great. We understood that the defensive front and linebackers were good. We understood that the linebacking corps could run and hit very fast. But that secondary is subject to be leaky. But we couldn't take advantage of that. We can't figure out how to scheme up a block. We couldn't bring. I saw him trot Daniel Faalele in, reported in as eligible. I can't remember whether it was fourth quarter or overtime. I can't remember when that was. But we couldn't bring Faalele in to offer some extra pass blocking in order to get the ball downfield. What teams have recognized is that, you know what, let's just blitz Lamar Jackson and this Ravens offense, and they're more likely to, they may complete a 5-yard pass, but we're going to stop them before they get going. Teams have found out, you know what, let's just blitz them, because for whatever the reason, Todd Monken hasn't schemed up any kind of real answer, real resolution for how to beat the blitz. See, because either Todd Monken hasn't schemed it up or Lamar Jackson can't execute it. We'll talk about him in the second video. But something is going on, because we've watched teams play us with the blitz after blitz after blitz, and we have not been able to handle it. We watched in the first two games where teams hit us up with zero coverage, and we were not able to beat it. What was the first drive of the game where we drove 80 yards and scored a touchdown, which should have set the tone for the game? How do we go from that to what we were the rest of the game? We go score 7 points on the first drive that we had, but then we don't score but 12 the rest of the game. We can't manage but 12 points the rest of the game. Makes no sense. Listen, it's going to be like this all week long. So if you're in the mood to rant and rave with me this week, this is the spot. If you're not, this may not be for you this week. I'm your guy Boulanger. This is the GM. I'm out.